Welcome to T21 Mom.
Hi, friends. It's your friend Mary, and welcome back to the T21 Mom podcast. And this is episode 151. And I'm so glad you're here. Well, summer is over and it's back to school. Doesn't summer always feel like a Netflix binge? You blink and suddenly you're at the season finale. We had a fantastic summer. Busy, fun, and just a little bit chaotic, the usual. But it really was an awesome summer. And a week before we went on our big trip to Prague, I hosted our now annual Ups and Downs family barbecue. Yes. 1 week before an international trip. I mean, what was I thinking? Honestly, I felt like I kind of bit off a bit more than I could chew, but somehow it all worked out. Barbecue in one hand, boarding pass in the other. That's balance, right? And then it was off to Prague for a home exchange. If you haven't done one, I highly recommend it. It's a really great way to travel. But prepping our home to be exchange ready is kind of stressful. But after doing it last year, it felt a little bit easier. There also wasn't as many people staying this time. But, pro tip, the junk drawer is never as small as you think. True story. And Prague itself was stunning. It's beautiful, safe, full of history. Plus, their transportation system, chef's kiss. Seriously, Vancouver, Canada could take notes. It was a total dream. Hopefully there's a podcast episode coming, but it was so easy to get around. I mean, yes, there's cobblestone everywhere, and thank God for Dennis, but it really was so easy to get around. And it's also a very walkable city. Granted, like I said, there's a lot of cobblestone, but we actually really managed with the stroller. It wasn't actually that bad, and it was pretty awesome. But once we were back home, summer wrapped up fast. We only had a few weeks of summer left once we were home. And with it came two big changes. The end of daycare and the start of high school. Yeah. And saying goodbye to daycare, it was rough. Ainsley loved daycare. She talked about it constantly. We were in Prague and she's still asking for daycare. And I'm going, we're not even in the same country. And the staff there, they were amazing. I don't know how they find these people, but, they truly were fantastic. And I just loved the staff there. And I could tell that they really loved Ainsley. And, I shed a lot of tears a few days leading up to her last day. And on her last day, they gave her a lovely book filled with pictures over the years. It was really fun to look at them. And the staff all wrote a nice little personal note, which was just so lovely. And, I bawled. I ugly cried. And Caitlin, who I'm pretty sure is Ainsley's favorite, told me it was an absolute honor to care for her. I mean, how do you top that? We had 8 years at daycare and they were like family. It was our safe place. And like I said, they really loved Ainsley and they included her, and we always just felt so welcomed there. And it was really, really hard to say goodbye. We will pop in again. I have a few things I need to return, some daycare shirts and things. So we will pop in, but I think we need to wait a little bit because I don't want Ainsley to think that, oh, we're going back to daycare. So yeah, that was that was a big change. And then on Labor Day weekend, we stuck to our tradition and went to the PNE Fair. It's the yearly fair that we have here. And thank goodness for the access pass, because that gave us free rein right to the front of the line for any ride. And there was one ride, it's fairly new. I think it's only the second year that it's been there. It's called the Thunderbolt. And it's a really twisty, kind of scary roller coaster. And people were waiting 2 hours for a 30-second thrill. And no, thank you. I certainly would not wait that long, even without Ainsley in mind, for a ride like that. But we literally walked up and we got on the next ride. It was awesome. And we did that for all the rides. And Ainsley, like, we got her the Thrill Seeker pass. So that got her on all the rides, and she went full on daredevil. This girl loves the rides. The roller coasters, we went on the old wooden roller coaster, and that's scary enough. She chose the second car, not the first, but the second. And the swings, she loves the different swings that they have there, and the elevator. That's so much fun. And I went on most of them with her. And yes, I screamed louder than she did. And it was so much fun. And just a little side tip, technically I'm the attendee and I'm supposed to actually purchase a ride pass as well, but only one ride ever questioned me about it. And I was just going to let her go on by herself, but the seat was empty. So I just went on it anyways, and no one ever questioned me again. So, that saved us, I don't know, I think it was $47 for that pass. So that was good. And we capped the night off with, the Superdog show, which we always go to. And at the end of the night, we went to a Tina Turner tribute concert. It was fantastic. The music was great. She was great. And we were home sometime after 10 p.m. and it was totally worth it. And then there was high school. Deep breaths. This transition has had me more nervous than Ainsley, I'm sure. I'd been prepping her for a couple of weeks. Her school had her teacher had made a little social story for her about going to her high school. And I was reading it every night. Some nights she didn't want me to read it because I wanted her to be prepared. And I was pretty nervous. And the first morning, no one had told me exactly where to go. So we did a little bit of a scavenger hunt. I knew it was the connections room, and I had a sort of a vague idea where it was. But amidst all the chaos, we finally found it. And we met her new EA, Ben. He's upbeat, kind, and honestly, I think he's going to be a great fit with Ainsley. And the next day, which was the first full day, because the first day they're there for all of an hour and a half, Ainsley's old EA from grade 7 came, Sarah, and she gave Ben some pointers and told him, "You're so lucky." And I nearly cried. That's the kind of reassurance a mom needs on the second day of high school. And, seeing some of her old friends help too. We ran into her good friends, Hannah and Ava, on the first day, and we walked in with them. So that was really nice. And we got a cute little picture together, and they're just so lovely. They're such nice, sweet girls. And I know that Ainsley's, I don't know if she'll even see them in high school or not, because she only has a couple of Gen Ed classes, and I'm not really sure if they'll bump into each other. It's a pretty big high school, so we'll see. And then we also saw her old daycare pal, Sam, who is a few years older than Ainsley, and he's so much fun. And I said, "Hi, Sam." And he barely looked at me and said, "Hi, Auntie Mary." And we gave each other a fist bump. So that made it all a little less scary, seeing some familiar faces and just sort of seeing how everything works. So, it felt okay. Felt okay. And all the staff in the connections room have been really welcoming and just really lovely with Ainsley. I mean, their kids all there, they have various disabilities. And there is an older girl that also has Down syndrome who we know. She's also in there as well. But it just kind of felt a lot better, kind of getting to know the staff a little bit and seeing where she's going to be spending a lot of her time, while she's in high school. And now for the bus situation. I know a lot of my Haunted Rockin' Mom friends, their kids have always taken the bus. It seems to be a lot more common in the US than it is here, at least in Vancouver where I am. I know there's kids, who have special needs that take the bus, and I would see that at Ainsley's elementary school. And there's also a special needs bus for the high school. We only live 2 blocks from school. And initially I had thought about the school bus, but I thought, oh, she's going to end up on the bus for an hour. And, I was trying different things. Like I found 2 people who would walk her to school, but, yes, it's only 2 blocks, but it was kind of challenging. We got it down to about 13 minutes. But when she practiced with one of the caregivers, it was 20. And, she said she could do it, but that it was challenging. But then I started thinking about it and thought, when the rains come, which is pretty much mid to late October, right through to April, it's not going to be fun because Ainsley won't wear a hat and it'll be really hard to get her there dry. And then a friend suggested that Dennis just drop Ainsley off at school by 8:30, and those 2 caregivers could supervise her until 9:25 because that's when school starts. They've changed the start times from last year. But the school said no, that it's a liability issue, and also it's to do with the teacher union contract, and it's just making it really, really challenging. And initially I had thought about the bus, but thought she's going to be on it for so long. But then the resource director suggested the bus because at this point I don't really have any alternatives. So like I said, we live 2 blocks from school, but somehow the bus ride is 45 minutes. Please make it make sense. The first day, she's only done the bus ride once at this point, but the first day I figured because they're picking her up at 8:40 that she would be the first child on the bus, which was the case. So, she can't wear her glasses on the bus or have her iPad or her knapsack close to her because she's enjoying testing gravity with her belongings. She will throw them. And I'm not really worried about her popper, but her water bottle could hurt somebody. Her iPad, she'll bang against the window. I don't want her to break the window or worse yet, the iPad, because I think we're on our third or fourth iPad since Christmas. So thank you. We are an AppleCare MVP at this point. So yeah, the bus is still a work in progress, but I did send a 2:30 a.m. email to the principal that morning and just explain the situation. I said, I think it's unreasonable to expect her to be on the bus for 45 minutes when we live 2 blocks away. She really should be the last kid on the bus, but we were a late addition to the bus route. So that could be why. And I do believe she talked with them that afternoon, maybe to see if they can alter the schedule. They are trying to think of some different ways that if they're not able to, that we can get Ainsley to school. So stay tuned for that because the other alternative, it might work a little bit better, but we'll see. But I did go and meet the bus on the first day that she took it. And she was happy as a clam. She got off the bus. She was laughing and giggling and, looked like she had a good time. So that kind of eased my stress level a little bit and my anxiety and made me feel a little bit better. It's still, I don't think, a great choice to be on the bus for 45 minutes. So I'm really hoping that we can mitigate that a little bit. So we'll see. But, overall, Ainsley's first week went better than I expected. I was so incredibly anxious about how it was all going to transpire, but I think she did pretty good. And Ben had mentioned the day after Sarah, Ainsley's old EA, had come and given him some pointers that really helped and that she had had a really good day. So I was really happy to hear that. So, she's learning how to use her locker. It's not a combo lock, thank goodness, but it's a padlock and it has a really tiny little key for it. And she's practicing opening it and closing it on her own. So she's getting there. It's baby steps to independence, but, it's been a good first week, a good intro to high school. And, meanwhile, I'm juggling getting caregivers set up in the mornings, Dennis's schedule, and prepping for my upcoming retreat. 5 days away sounds glorious, but getting everything ready beforehand feels like planning a military operation. Meals, rides, schedules, it's a lot, but I know it'll be worth it to recharge and connect with my haunted Ruffin moms and all the amazing women that I meet at the retreat. And that's pretty much where we're at. New routines, new challenges, and new adventures. Thanks for sticking with me, friends. 6 years in, I sometimes wonder what stories to share next, so I'd love your input. What do you want to hear more of? Diagnosis stories, family journeys, something totally new? I don't know what people want to listen to. It's hard at times to think up new ideas. So head to t21mom.com, send me a message, or you can even leave me a voicemail. I'd really love to hear from you. Until next time, remember, I see you, I hear you, I love you. We can all do hard things, and you've got this. Keep on loving on your rockin' kiddos, and I'll see you next time.